Okay, hi, and welcome back to the Why I Do show. And today I'm super privileged to have with me Ray Kobeissi. Ray, hi, good morning.
Hi, Phil. Good morning to you.
And it's an absolute pleasure for me to invite you into my show because Ray runs a company called Raise Your Mental Health. And she also runs a podcast called Don't Be a Man About It. And I was lucky enough to be interviewed on the show, and it was a great experience.
One
So
of the
what I thought is,
greatest.
let's return the favor. Let's get Ray on the show and find out, Ray, why you do what you do. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Okay, so I'm a mindset and men's mental health coach. And why I do what I do, because 10 or 11 years ago now, 11 years, I lost my dad to suicide. And I was his best friend, and I never knew that he was depressed. You know how it goes. You just think it's one of those bad days. And it took me like 4 to 5 years to heal and to get done with my therapy and all of that, to get over my grieving and the shock that I received from that. And I just made a conscious decision that I don't want any girl or any daughter to go through the same pain that I went through. And the only way that I could think of logically is to work with their fathers, to help them talk about what's causing them stress. That's how it started. I just didn't want any girl to lose her dad to something like depression. And at the same time, I wanted to work with men on providing a safe environment for them to open up, to actually just talk. Most of the clients that I work with, Phil, just come to me to say, we don't have anyone to listen to us. This is really good enough for us for now. They just want someone to listen to them, to be heard. And that shows how our culture, or our society is just programmed on a very specific way of doing things, which is not really healthy, and it's destroying generations to come. And I believe that while I work with these men, I'm already healing half of the other half of society, because a man means his family, his partner, his colleagues, his business partners. So it's contagious. So that's why I do what I do. I don't want to stay
Wow.
so much on this
Well,
answer, but
do you
yeah.
know what's interesting is obviously you work in that sort of coaching space because just the fact you're able to go there so quickly and so clearly and know exactly what it is means you've obviously done a lot of work on that. And I think one of the challenges is for a lot of maybe men, particularly because we're supposed to be men and not talk
Men.
about that emotional stuff. A lot of it's hidden away, right? And so if you ask somebody, they just don't know why. They just know they're doing this, doing that, risking themselves, endangering themselves, but they don't know why. And it's just really interesting that you can go there so quickly. And I know anyone that's done things like NLP or coaching just has that amazing, almost ability just to go there and to control it, which I thought was just amazing. What does occur to me, Ray, is do you notice a difference, particularly in the UAE, where I know you're based, between different nationalities and their willingness to embrace this?
That's a very, very good question. Yes. Uh, on It's been 2 years, almost 2 years now, and mostly our Arab men are still not there yet. It's taking so much time for them to open up. I've worked in 2 years, less than 10 Arab men. All of them were just from the UK, from France, somewhere in Europe, India. These men are more open these days to work on their mindsets or mental health, or even making some changes. Arab men are still, unfortunately, in the space of, I can handle this. I'm okay. I'm fine. It's just work stuff. Nothing I can't deal with. Um, I believe we're going there, but it's taking slowly but surely, but it's taking time.
Wow. So if someone was, I've got a friend in the US who deals with a lot of suicide prevention, particularly in like construction industry. And I remember him sitting me down once and saying, well, Phil, actually, one of the things I train people to do is listen to the language that people
Yes.
use, and then that becomes a trigger to say, hey, okay, they're going through something and you need to do XYZ. Is there anything like that in your field?
100%, yes. It goes into two ways, language and also behavior. So language, it could be always talking about specific things in a very negative or unhelpful way. So for example, when I ask you, how are you doing today? And you would say, I'm surviving. And you hear that answer a lot, that, yeah, I'm fine, I'm surviving. That means this is how you see your reality, and this is how you perceive life because of things that are either you're going through or something in the back of your head. So when you say I'm surviving, you're really not okay. And when people get that slip, yeah, we all are, that tells us we are in a very bad situation when it comes to mental health. So just a small example, and behaviors, for example, that we normalized as a culture or as a society, which is being a workaholic, being short-tempered, not able to take criticism, let alone feedback. These kind of small stuff, when you lose interest in things that used to bring you joy, but you blame it on, I don't have the time for that. These are triggers, and these are signs that that person needs help.
Is it very close to depression, or are there significant differences?
It could be a situational depression. And by situational depression means there's something going on at work, or maybe unresolved issues, such as someone with, let's say, lost a parent or lost someone dear to them. So they couldn't take the space and the time to grieve. That could be a situational depression because it's going to show up in the future by being so angry, by being resentful, by being bitter. So situational depression is just, what you can do about it is change your habits during the day and change the tone and the language in your mind. You would be amazed how many men I've worked with, it took us like 4 months and everything was fine again, because we changed the tone in their mind. And very small behavior, for example, when you wake up, do you look at your phone? Of course, stop. As simple as that. So clinical depression is completely different than situational depression or just sad, which is seasonal depression. Yeah.
So if I was to hear somebody saying, continually saying, I'm surviving, and I care about them, obviously it's not an easy conversation to have. How would I open that conversation in a way that would be where we'd be able to move them somewhere, rather than them turn around and go, who do you think you are? Don't ask me. Do you know what I mean? What would be some tips on how you can open that conversation?
Well, it depends on the person and himself. How is his character? How open he is to receive such comments? But the most efficient way would be to mirror yourself in a subtle way, which means when I say I'm surviving, that most of the time means that I'm not feeling okay, but I just don't want to tell anyone. Is that the same for you? One example. Or you could say, how could you not survive? What's the next step for you? How do you see yourself not surviving, but actually living or happy? So this is one way to let that person talk, or simply just you could send resources such as a YouTube video, something you've read and that reminded me of you. What do you think of that? Do you think this person, he posts a lot about that content? Maybe it could, give you an insight or two. Let me know how I can help, something like that. How can I be there for you without causing any kind of extra pressure? That's it.
So it's almost like you're subtly laying stuff in front of them,
Yes.
without saying you need help.
Exactly.
So they can kind of, okay, it's a very clever way of doing it. I suppose most coaches have that challenge with most coaching. So Ray, I mean, particularly over the last year, and as we're filming this, it's 2021. Obviously, we had the amazing time over the last year, 2020. How have you pivoted, changed? What's it meant to your business, or what have you done? How are you with your business impacting the world now. What's new for you, for example?
During the pandemic, I focused on helping people to understand what is anxiety or what is stress. How do you deal with uncertainty in a productive or helpful way? Because we have two problems when it comes to mental health. It's not just the person going through the mental pressure or challenge, it's also the people around them. How can they read the symptoms and how can they help? How can they listen? How can you spot someone stressed and what you can do about it without causing yourself stress as well? So it's a cycle. So I made sure to raise awareness on that topic as much as I can intensely, because it's very important, especially that during the lockdown, a lot of families were put on together and they do not know each other's issues. They don't know how to deal with one another. And communication was top one problem between every family that was locked in together. So how to communicate, how to listen, how to support one another without imposing the help and causing a bigger problem. So that was one area of that. And the second one would be just how to be mindful and stay in the present, because in the lockdown, most of us were really scared what's going to happen and what will happen if something bad happens. So this scenario had to be reframed in a way where right now at this moment, I'm safe, I'm supported, my family is fine. When something happens or if something bad happens, we'll deal with it at that moment. To shift that voice from this to this requires really a huge effort and energy and time and awareness. So I focused on those two things.
Wow. Okay. So so obviously we've got your show, Don't Be a Man About It. So that would be a great thing for us to put in the link after this. So if anyone does want to fire that past anybody, hey, did you see this?
Let their episode be the number one. Yes.
They can do that, right? But I was just saying to you earlier on, I was just listening to BBC World this morning, and they were talking about an ice hockey player who, tried to commit suicide numerous occasions, and they found out later on it was PTSD. Because of an ice hockey injury that he sustained. So I mean, it comes from the strangest places sometimes, and it's thank goodness it's obviously become something that's recognised now. So hopefully you'll continue to do good work. Now, the most important question: ta-da! If you were stuck on a desert island, with the exception of obviously immediate loved ones, who would you choose to be on there with and why?
That's a good one. Can we choose actors or musicians?
You can choose anybody you want. Yeah.
I'd go for Julia Roberts or Robert De Niro.
Oh, that's good, because Jason Statham's already taken by somebody else, so that's good.
All right. So I'll take Robert De Niro or Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts. So Julia Roberts, why?
She amazes me with her talents and her way of looking at life. I've seen and watched a lot of interviews, and she's a good person. And I feel that we could have deep and silly conversations at the same time and have an amazing time. So yeah. And Robert De Niro, because I see in him some deep memories or stories, so we would never actually get bored. He would share stuff with me. I feel that, and he reminds me of my dad as well. So
could be good. That's lovely. That's a good one. It's good, because I actually thought you were trying to film a film and getting those two in there at the same time. I thought, we see another blockbuster coming.
Who knows?
But it is because of other reasons, right?
My way. I wouldn't say no to that.
All right, Ray, thanks so much for your time, and it's great catching up with you. And everyone that's listening to the show, I hope there's some great information for you there, and also some great tools to fire past people you feel may need it. Ray, thanks a lot. Take care. See you, everybody.